Okay, we gotta be good now.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Sorry for the delay. I was having some technology issues. So if you are just joining us, you missed it. And we are hosting ADT today, Steve and I'm not Silas. Again, I still don't have that much facial hair, thank God. But today's session is on alternative supplemental products, specifically Aetna and Globe Life. Is that correct, Steve?
That is correct.
Yeah, and so if you can, please turn your cameras on. We love seeing you. And then please put your name in the chat for attendance. We do love to kind of keep track on how many people we have joining us today. So appreciate it. So I appreciate your patience in helping me get started with my technology Zoom issues here at Miss Dennison's office. And in certain areas, we don't have connections. So, but with that being said, I've moved and I'm here and I'm actually going to turn it over to Steve so that we can talk about additional supplemental products. I know we talk a lot about our UH1 Golden Rule products and some of the other things, but I think there's some other alternatives that may be a better fit for some people in certain situations. And so, Steve, I'm going to let you take it from here to share about maybe some of the Aetna and Globe Life products. And perfect, you're able to share your screen.
All right. So one of the reasons why Silas and I decided to start talking about these other products is with some of the changes that are coming in 2027, these products may give us an opportunity to actually help our clients a little bit better. And I guess where the biggest need is going to come from is when we deal with GRIC products, especially like the critical illness. If someone has health issues, the most critical illness we can get them is 10,000. The problem with that is starting in 2027, the max out of pocket on ACA plans is going to be 12,000. And so one of the things that we like to do is we like to protect people from two max out of pockets, because if you get cancer in October and it rolls over into January, that's 12,000 times two. We're going to start needing to be able to get bigger numbers to help protect people from the high out of pockets. And so one of the reasons why we wanted to start talking a little bit about Aetna, which is a product that we used to sell a bunch of a few years ago, is they have, I guess you can sell higher levels of coverage, and really their underwriting questions, there's only three. It's base, and I'll show you what they are in a second, but it's basically, have you had AIDS? Have you had a negative cancer test? Have you had cancer in the last 5 years? They don't ask height and weight. They don't ask what medicines you are. Because think about how many times we come across someone who's a diabetic. The only thing they can get on GRIC is 10,000. A diabetic can get 75,000 on Aetna. And so we're going to talk about some of Aetna's products, and they also have some products that work very well in the Medicare space as well. And so when you come to Aetna, so for those of you who are not contracted with Aetna, let me just do that real quick because I'm sure some of you, when we get done, if you're not contracted with Aetna, you're going to want to get contracted. And so when we go into the Resource Center, when you go to Haas, the very first one is what you want to get contracted with. So this is Aetna Health and Life, Ascendo, but the biggest one is Continental Life. That is what their supplemental products are based on, their cancer plans, stuff like that. So if you come in here, the very first one is what you want to get. Because again, there's a bunch of other Aetnas as well. And Aetna Medicare is different than Aetna Senior Subs. So
And
go in there, get contracted. So Sandra, do you have anything to add?
and with Aetna Health and Life, like Steve said, you'll see in parentheses it says, the different companies. So Aetna works with these different insurance carriers to be the underwriters for these products.
It's kind of like United Healthcare owning Golden Rule. It's just they have their products on different paper. So these big companies, they'll buy smaller companies and they'll use those companies for very specific products. But the one we want is Continental Life. Now, to check if you are actually contracted with them, if you actually go to reports, where's
Right up the top on the left.
there we go. All right. And you go to agent appointments, you can actually see if you're appointed. You pick your state, but then you can do the carrier. You're not going to want to do any of these Aetnas. You're going to want to go down to the C's and see if you're contracted with Continental Life. If you are, you're good to go. If not, go to Haas, get it done. Okay. So that's kind of how you do this. But one of the cool things about Aetna is when you go to their broker portal, they actually have a sandbox where you can practice stuff. Okay. You can practice applications. You can change things around. So it's the identical to their quote and enroll, because again, some of these products are in Quote Connect, but it's going to shoot you over to here. Okay. And so this is what their quoting system looks like. And as you can see here, it'll say applications cannot be submitted. But the very first product I want to talk about is the cancer and the heart attack and stroke plan. Because like I said, with what's going on in the ACA, we may need to look at these products if we want to get people higher amounts that have some health issues. So when you look at their products, again, they have a bunch of different products. They have final expense, they have a drug plan, dental, vision, hearing. But the two that I want to focus on right here are the cancer insurance and the heart attack and stroke. And they actually sell these products separately. So you can have different amounts. In other words, I can have more for cancer and I can have less for heart attack and stroke. Okay. And the really cool thing about this plan is when you go here and look at the brochure, let me get this out of the way, make this a little bigger for Sandra.
Thank you.
All right. They have a really nice couple page kind of pain funnel on why these plans are important. So when you think of heart attack, cancer, and stroke, those are what are called the big three. So cancer is the second most common cause of death for both men and women. 88% of all cancers are diagnosed in people 50 or older. A new cancer diagnosed every 16 seconds, but 39% of women, 41% of men will get diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. And it's usually due to our environment. It's really some of it has to do with mom, dad, brother, sister, because you'll talk to some of these people who are like, well, cancer doesn't run in my family. Doesn't matter. Do you eat? Do you breathe? Do you leave your house? Because 75% of all cancers now are due to environment, not family history. Okay. Then you've got heart attack, number one cause of death, 1 out of 5. It's one of the most expensive conditions to treat in the hospital. And then here's the average age. And then finally, you've got stroke, leading cause of serious long-term disability. Every 40 seconds, someone has a stroke, can be a lifelong process. So we all know this stuff. But the good news is cancer, heart attack, and stroke are no longer death sentences like they used to be. It used to be if you had cancer, you needed life insurance. But because of advancements in medical technology, people actually are surviving this more and more. And so when you talk about cancer, That's gone up 24%, and 67% of the survivors are currently 65 or older. Does anyone understand why? And this used to be a big deal when the Part D drug plan had the donut hole. But the reason more and more people are surviving is we have what's called oral chemotherapy now. See, in the past, they used to pump you full of chemicals, and if that didn't kill the cancer, it killed you. But they have transitioned, especially in the older market, to people taking the oral chemotherapy because number one, it's effective. Number two, it's not as damaging to the body. And so, where a lot of times you'll see this in the senior market is you'll see seniors not get infusion therapy, they'll get oral chemotherapy because it's safer for their body. But one of the biggest problems we have on a Medicare drug plan is we got a $2,100 max out of pocket. And so if I'm sitting there talking to someone, it's January 1st and I'm getting cancer, what am I spending in January? $2,100. And so that's one of the things we need. Now, in the under 65 market, we've got these deductibles, we've got these max out of pockets, we have lost income. But again, 90% of people who have a heart attack will survive if they're hospitalized, and 66% of stroke victims live past the 3-year mark. Again, it's all due to medical technology. So that's the good news. People are surviving these things. The bad news is it's destroying people financially. Cost of cancer is going up. Nearly 50% of cancer patients, there's what are called we talk what are called the indirect costs. There's travel, there's lost wages, there's home care, there's other miscellaneous like maybe having childcare for our kids. So there's a lot of these what we call indirect costs that these products are designed to take care of. Heart attack patients, the average cost is 21,000 per hospital stay of 5 days. For stroke, it's about 60,000. So guys, when we sit there and we're showing these people $10,000, it's not enough. They're going to need this. And some of the costs that are built into there are just, it's the indirect cost. It's the lost income. It's not, it's like, well, Steve, if I have a max out of pocket of 10,000, why is it 21,000? Because you're going to miss work. There's going to be things your insurance doesn't cover. And so really understanding that what we sell against is not the medical stuff, which we call the direct cost. Guys, all of our supplemental plans are designed to help people with the indirect cost. That's all the stuff that's going to come up that insurance doesn't cover. And if until you get that in your mind, if all you're trying to do is protect people from their deductible, that's the least of their concerns because nobody's going to lose their house over a deductible or a max out of pocket. But people can lose their house if they can't pay their house payment. Does that make sense? And so getting to understand this whole concept of indirect cost is a big, big deal. That's what health markets is designed to protect people against. They don't need us for the health insurance. They can go to healthcare.gov, get it themselves. They can go to medicare.gov, get it themselves. They need us for all the stuff that their Medicare or their health insurance is not going to cover. And so when we look at this plan, the very first thing about this plan is this right here. There's 2 types of cancer plans you can get. You can get a straight cancer plan, or you can get a cancer insurance with reoccurrence benefits. Now, like I said, in the past, we used to sell a ton of this stuff. I have several clients that are still on this that have actually gotten cancer and gotten paid, and now their benefit is recharging. Can we do that with GRIC? GRIC is a one and done, correct? Someone shake their head if you agree with me. Okay, hold see Maggie, thank you. But how this plan works is if you get, let's just say a $10,000 cancer plan, you get diagnosed with cancer, they're going to write you a check for $10,000. As long as you keep paying your premium, that's going to start recharging. So the first 2 years if cancer comes back, you're not getting anything. But if you get to 2 to 5 years, there's another 2,500. You get to 5 to 7 years, there's another 5,000. 7,500. 9 years, you're back to the 10,000 or the 20 or whatever. So think about this. If we sell this to someone in their 30s, they get cancer when they're 35, there's a pretty good chance this thing's going to recharge itself. And so that's one of the things that I like about this plan is because it's got the recurrence benefit. So it's not just a one and done. Now, people can get paid and quit paying for it if they want to, but having this ability to recharge it, because there's times where people get cancer. Alan, could you mute, please? Thank you. There's people that get cancer and then 5, 6, 7 years later it comes back. Because once you get cancer the first time,
Quality assurance purposes.
Alan,
Hi, this is
can you mute? Thank you.
I got him.
Thanks. There are times we can do this. So when we're selling this to our younger couple, younger families, this is something they can use multiple times. Again, the same thing with the heart attack or stroke.
Yeah. So Steve, I have a story to share in relation to this. So years ago, I had the old cancer policy, right? Sure. And many of you know I'm a cancer survivor. About 5.5 years ago, I was diagnosed. And it paid out fine. That was a blessing. And do you know anyone who is running those?
Well, we lost Sandra, so we'll just keep going here.
Oh, am I still here?
You're back now.
Yeah. So I think I need a new computer, Silas Jessup. So, so what I was going to say is if I had a policy like this, then if I'm maybe 10 years out, this would have replenished itself.
Correct. Yep. And so one of the things about this is with this plan, the issue ages are 18 to 89. The coverage is individual and spouse, individual and children, or family. And the really cool thing about this is if you put the youngest person as the primary, they're going to be rated based on the younger person's age, not the older person's age. And so that's one of the cool features about this is if I have a 50-year-old husband, but a 55-year-old wife, I'm going to make the wife the primary and it's going to be a lower rate. So that's one of the things that you can do with this plan. And these plans start at 5,000. They can go as high as 75,000. Okay. It is a guaranteed renewable as long as you pay the premiums. And again, the nice thing about this is what's one of the issues with the GRIC if you have carcinoma in situ? It's 25%. This one's the full benefit. Okay. So again, this is a product you want to take a look at. And then one other thing, I don't think it says it in here, but the cool thing about this plan is an age-rated product. So once you get it, that's the rate. Okay. Matter of fact, when I watched because I re-watched their thing, and basically the guy from Aetna said this plan's never had a rate increase. Once these people get in, right, that's what it is. So when you actually look at this, so if I want to do 20,000, I can do it on just myself. I can do it on, so it's just kind of however you want to do this. And then I always do the recurrence benefit. Mm-hmm. So when we look at this, 20,000 for me at 57 years old is $40. Okay. I can do the same thing down here. So 39. And so basically what you can do is for $80, you've got 20,000 cancer, 20,000 heart attack and stroke. Now, here's why I like doing this, because the question is, what are the health questions? So when you actually go in here, it shows you the health questions. So the first thing it's going to show you is the cancer. So in the last 10 years, have you had AIDS? In the past 5 years, has anyone had any test or monitoring related to cancer, including but not limited to PSA screenings, mammograms, that have not been completed, for which the test results have not been received, or an abnormal test? So again, a lot of times females will get an abnormal pap smear and then they'll go and do another one, get a normal. That's fine. But if you go and have an abnormal pap smear and you haven't had a normal one yet, that's a knockout. Again, us guys, we go have a PSA test. If it's above 4, that's a knockout. Okay. And then if you've had any cancers or anything like that. So those are the only 3 questions for the cancer. Now for the heart attack and stroke, again, HIV or AIDS. In the last 6 months, does anyone take any medication for uncontrolled high blood pressure?
Uncontrolled is the key.
Uncontrolled, yep. 6 months received advice or consultation for medical tests performed during in other words, if we have any pending tests, there's not an insurance company on the planet that's going to give you anything if you have a test that you don't know the results yet. Again, when we used to do the underwriting all the time, we always said if the door's open, it's got to be closed before they'll move on. In the past 5 years, any kind of heart surgery, heart-related surgery, coronary artery, pacemakers. In the past 5 years, have you ever taken medication for heart problems? So again, obviously, if someone has AFib or something like that, they're not going to be able to get this. And then medications for stroke. So again, the nice thing about this, guys, is there any questions on here about diabetes? Is there any questions on here about some of these other things that knock people out of GRIC? So that's why we're showing this, because this is an option for people to get more coverage if their health. Now, again, if you just want to sell GRIC all day, that's fine. Again, the whole idea behind this is showing you some opportunities. Okay. So I'm going to go back to here. Is there any questions in the chat, Sandra, or does anyone have any questions about these plans? Because I'm going to show you something here when I get this done.
Dave,
Yeah.
I have one question. What is exactly uncontrolled high blood pressure?
Uncontrolled high blood pressure means you're going to your doctor and they can't figure out how to regulate it. So it's high, it's bouncing around like a lottery ping pong ball. Again, someone who's been on blood pressure and it's been controlled for the last 2 years, that's fine. But there are times where people go to their doctor and they're trying to figure this thing out. Does that help, Mark?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Yep. Cut. Now, let's talk about this for a second, because what I did is I put in a family of 3, a 43-year-old, 41, and an 11. And guys, we need to start thinking in terms of 25,000. Why? The 12,000 MOOP's coming. And so for the critical guard, the premium's $45.19. For the Aetna, it's $92.03. And a lot of people are like, well, that's a lot more. Yeah, it's a lot more because you're getting a lot more. What are you getting with Aetna that you're not getting with critical guard? The ability to recharge. The ability to get this with less health questions. The reason this is so affordable is GRIC knocks out just about anybody who sneezes wrong. I mean, I'm just sorry to say, that's just, their underwriting is hard. Okay. With Aetna, they're more, as long as you don't have the big stuff tied into heart attack, cancer, stroke, will take you. And even if we pay you out, we're gonna put enough premium in here to justify us being able to rebuild the benefit. Okay. So when we look at those two things, and we look at what they pay. So again, critical guard for a tier 1's 27%, tier 2's 32%, tier 3's 35%, tier 4's 37%. Guys, look at Aetna, 48, 58, 63, and 67. So if I sold the Aetna plan as a tier one, I'm getting advanced 356 and 534. On GRIC, I'm getting advanced 110 and 419. Okay. Tier four, 497 versus 154. Okay. And I know, well, Steve, it's twice the price. Yeah. Be a salesperson. Show them why they need this. Because here's the great thing. If I show them the Aetna, heart attack, cancer, stroke, and they can't afford it, can I drop down to the GRIC? Because, guys, one of the things I've learned in this business is I know a lot of us are chasing FYCRs because we want to get to the next tier and stuff. But, Holtzy, you've been around for a long time. So can you unmute for a second? Because I want to ask you a question. Unmute.
Hey, Steve, can you make the chart a little bit bigger?
Yeah.
Thank you. Is Holtzy able to unmute?
I don't know.
While Holtzy's figuring that all out, on either one of these, when do the commissions stop for agents?
They don't. As long as they pay the
Okay.
premium, you get a renewal.
You got me now?
All right, Holt, you've been around just about as long as anybody on the call besides me.
Yes, sir.
When was the last time you used FYCRs at the grocery store?
Never.
Never. Guys, I know we chase FYCRs, but the bottom line is, last I checked, money is what pays the bills. And so if I can get 48% commission instead of 27% commission, and it's probably going to be a little bit higher premium, and I'm giving the customer something a little bit better than what they have, I might want to start thinking about the Aetna cancer, heart attack, and stroke plan as my primary plan and have the golden rule to fall back on. Now, this is probably going to be, I'm probably going to get my contract pulled because but guys, I'm looking at this from the standpoint of most people don't stick around here because they get FYCRs. Most people stick around here because they make money. And this is a place where you can make money because of the commissions. And because it's a little bit more, as you can see, the commissions, you actually get more FYCRs on the Aetna. So again, I'm going to start looking at this from the point of view of, I'm going to start leading with the Aetna cancer, heart attack, and stroke plan. And I'm going to drop to the critical guard if I can't, if I talk to someone who has uncontrolled blood pressure, they had a bad PSA test. Can I sell them the $10,000 GRIC? Yeah. So that's what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start looking at the GRIC for my accident plans. I'm starting to look at Aetna for my cancer, heart attack, and stroke because, again, these kinds of numbers impress me. Okay. Now, the downside is they're single weighted FYCRs, but if you sell enough of these things, you're going to get your FYCRs. Okay. I just want to make sure you guys get paid so you can stick around long enough to figure this out. And then you can do whatever you want. But that's just, again, the way that I look at it. So any questions on the cancer, heart attack, and stroke?
No, and I just put in the chat that the Aetna products are available on Quote Connect too.
Yep.
Kate
Yeah,
was
matter of
asking
fact,
how you did it. I was going to
I'll
say, Kate
show
was asking
you.
how you did a comparison quote.
Here you go. I'll show you because I'll show you what my template is.
You can also create a custom quote too if the product isn't on there.
Well, it's on there.
It is on there.
Get me off the big screen in front of me.
All right. So when I do my income protection quote, so this is what I do for people under the age of 65, and I don't know why they always do this. Sometimes I gotta go back in. I'll just go back and do this John example quote. Any other questions while we're waiting for this to load?
No, not in the chat, Steve.
And again, now think about the Aetna quote, can't just the Aetna cancer plan when we start dealing with cancer. I mean, how many of those people on our team are out there selling these give back plans with the $9,100 max out of pocket? What if I could get them a 20,000 and now I can protect them from two, and I'm actually getting the government to help pay the premium
Mm-hmm.
instead of the 10,000 GRIC, I can do 20,000 Aetna. All right. So this is what my quote sheet looks like. I've got the Aetna cancer and I'm doing 20, 25, and 30. And then I'm doing the accident wise and the hospital wise. So when we look at it for this family of three, 228. But when I do this, and some of you have remembered this, I don't sell vertically. I sell horizontally. So what I do is I sell the cancer plan first. This is what it does. This is what it costs. Do you want it? Do you want the 20, the 25, or the 30? Okay. Heart attack and stroke. And I may get someone who wants the 25,000 cancer and only the 20,000 heart attack and stroke. Okay. And then which accident wives do you want? Which hospital wives do you want? But that's how I'm showing it now. And if I know I come across someone who can't get this because of some health problem or some cancer problem, I can throw a $10,000 critical guard on there in my back pocket. Okay. So does anyone have any questions on how I quote this stuff? And the reason I do this, guys, is again, when you compare someone a silver plan with a bronze plan, usually the premium's higher than this is going to be, or it's going to be pretty darn close. So, but can I always drop this down to 10 to 15 if I need to? Yeah. Okay. So, any questions on the cancer plan? Because I want to do this. I'm going to show you someone, let's just say 9/15/1961. So here's a 64-year-old. And I do the cancer. And they're on a devoted give back plan. So I want to do 20,000. It's $50. Well, if the government's giving me 174, Sandra, do I have $50 that I can play with now?
Yes, you do.
Yeah. And as long as I haven't had cancer, AIDS, or a test, I can get this. So again, just something for you guys to think about a little bit on how I could use this in the under 65 market, how I could use it in the Medicare market. It just gives us the ability to get more cancer, heart attack, and stroke, than I'm currently getting with the GRIC plan because of health issues. Now, again, if they're healthy, do whatever you want with the GRIC. All right. Now, one other thing I want to talk about, and unfortunately, this is no longer an option for people in Michigan. They have recently, and I don't know why, the state of Michigan, it's getting a little wonky with these hospital indemnity plans. So the state of Michigan and Aetna decided to part ways on their hospital flex plan. But I want to show you a couple things on this where you can use this plan in the state of Indiana. First thing I want to talk about is for those of you who are selling Medicare supplements. One of the biggest issues for people on Medicare supplements is this right here. Some of you know this, some of you don't. But there is one thing where supplements actually have a chink in the armor. So this was an article, ABC News, talking about a coming storm. And it's basically talking about how more people in the senior market are filing bankruptcies. Let me get back. And the reason why is this right here. So this was a lady who fell at her home. She was in the hospital for 4 nights, but Medicare did not pay for her skilled nursing because they said she had only been an inpatient for 1 night. Okay. So Medicare and its zillions of pages of guidelines and regulations has 2 competing rules. The first says patients must spend 3 nights as a hospital inpatient to qualify for inpatient rehabilitation or skilled nursing once they're discharged. The second encourages hospitals to keep their patients on observation status or risk being audited. Why? Medicare pays more for inpatient than they pay for outpatient. So it's a cost-cutting thing. So the 3-day rule has been in Medicare since the 60s. It's always read, if you want Medicare to cover skilled nursing, you got to be in the hospital for 3 full nights. The discharge day doesn't count. But then in 2015, the Obama administration passed a law called MACRA that said that literally the government can go audit hospitals. And if they put people in as an inpatient that Medicare thought could have been an outpatient, the hospital has to pay Medicare all the money back. And the reason why is they want you as an outpatient because it's cheaper. But most people, if the average hospital stay is 3 to 5 days, most people don't hit that. And what ends up happening is people need to go to a skilled nursing. The caseworker comes in, says, got good news. I found a bed for you. Got the bad news. Medicare's not paying for it. They want $10,000 before they'll take you. Okay. Now, this started happening all the time. So the law was passed in 2015. So in 2015, 2016, people were getting hit with this. And so it went before a federal judge. And basically, I'm going to show you what the judge ruled in a second. But basically, this is becoming such a big deal that it's in Medicare and You on page 28. It's, am I an inpatient or an outpatient? And it literally tells you every day you're in the hospital, you should ask if you're inpatient or outpatient. Why? Because if you don't hit that 3-day stay, they're not going to cover it. And so what the judge did is when it went before the judge, he said, the 3-day law, that's legal. The hospital audit from Medicare is legal. What these hospitals have to do is they have to start letting you know if you're going to be in the hospital more than 24 hours as an outpatient, they just got to tell you. And they created what was called the Medicare Outpatient Observation Notice, or what's called the MOON. Now, here's the things I want you guys to understand. CMS anticipates that more than 1 million patients will receive the MOON annually. Does that sound like it might happen once in a blue moon, or does that sound like a strategy?
It is
Okay.
definitely a strategy, Steve. And I come from the
Definitely a
healthcare
strategy.
setting. Yes.
CMS also says that patients have no appeal rights and cannot challenge their observation status. So why is this just a big deal for Medicare supplements? It's because Medicare Advantage plans don't honor the 3-day rule. They don't require that. Medicare supplement plans do. Now, is there a day where Medicare Advantage could say you need to do 3 full days? Yes, it could come because it's legal. But that's what's going on. Now, what's the big deal for Medicare Advantage people when it comes to skilled nursing? Here was a situation where this guy was in skilled nursing. After 11 days, they told him to go home. And so the facility gave the Christensen a choice: pay several $1,000s to stay, appeals the company's decision, or go home. Because, guys, healthcare providers, nursing home representatives, and advocates for residents say Medicare Advantage plans are increasingly ending members' coverage for nursing home and rehabilitation services before patients are healthy enough to go home. In traditional Medicare, the Medicare professionals at the facility decide when someone is safe to go home, and a Medicare Advantage, the plan decides. So here's what's happening. United Healthcare, if you're in a skilled nursing and you're not getting any better, why would they want to pay for it? Well, Medicare does. Yeah, because Medicare's paying for it with other people's money. They don't care. And so that's some things that we have to understand is that the big issue in Medicare is skilled nursing. It's an issue for people on a Medicare Advantage plan. And the other issue for people on Medicare Advantage plan is finding an in-network bed. That's probably a bigger issue. And so when we think of that stuff, guys, here's why this hospital indemnity flex is important. Again, I apologize. Michigan stopped this a couple of weeks ago. Sorry, but I can build this to where I can put it at $250 a day, but then I can put the skilled nursing at $500 a day for 100 days. And I can solve that problem for people on a Medicare supplement for 55 bucks. Now, for those of you in Michigan, you don't have this. You have a different option that you can look at. It's called the Recovery Care Choice, where you could actually go in and you can build this and you can give them a 90-day benefit period, 0-day elimination. And again, when you quote this, oh,
So in Michigan, I think I have a answer for you as to why they're doing that, Steve.
go ahead.
It's because Michigan and many other states, if you look at the health payer press, one of the places where they have chronic understaffing is with skilled nursing.
Yep.
The state of Michigan was paying people to attend certified nurse assistant training. They would pay the whole thing. So what is happening here is the state of Michigan is discouraging people from picking up these plans because they don't want people to have the insurance to pay for the stay longer than they're absolutely necessary to be there.
Right.
That's
Guys, it's all money. And so, either the Aetna Flex plan can help with this, or in Michigan, you've got the Recovery Care Choice. Now, for those of you in Indiana on Silas's team, I'm going to be going over this Recovery Care Choice in more detail on Friday. But I did want to touch on this for Michigan because I can build this to give people $500 a day for 90 days. So again, if I get hit with the under observation, this will kick in because, again, it doesn't require the 3-day stay. Okay. So that's where you can use the Recovery Care Choice, or you could use the Hospital Indemnity Flex for people on a med supplement. So again, these are just some other angles you can use some of these products to help take care of some of this stuff. Okay. So in the last 10 minutes, I do want to just touch on does anyone have any more questions on Aetna? Sandra, is there anything in the chat? Because I saw some things pop up, but I wasn't paying attention.
Did you let Maggie out this morning?
Well, Sandra's frozen.
Maggie, you wanna go outside?
Yeah, unmute.
You're
You wanna
good.
go outside, go
Oh,
potty?
am I good?
Yeah.
Can we get a copy of your article?
Yeah. Yeah. Someone sent. I'll send it to Silas, and Silas can send it out to everybody. All right. So the last company I want to talk about is Globe Life. We've had Globe Life for a long time. These products, they have an accident plan, they have a cardiac plan, and a cancer plan. This is more like an Aflac type product, but there are a couple of things on where this can really come into play. So I'm just going to show you the cancer plan. Matter of fact, some of you may recognize this because I actually use the Globe Life stuff when I'm actually, I call it the pain funnel. This is what I use to talk about direct cost, indirect cost. So their brochures are phenomenal presentation pieces because it does one for cancer, does one for heart attack and stroke, does one for accidents. But this is basically how their plan works. You've got different levels. And this is more, again, like an Aflac type plan. It's a fixed indemnity plan where you get paid X number of dollars depending on what you're going through. But there's a couple of things that make this plan unique. First of all, if they're under 65, this does have a return of premium benefit where once you've been on the plan for 25 years, if you had no claims, they're going to give you all your money back. If you had 5,000 in claims, they'll give you 20. So I've actually had some customers who've gotten their, because we used to sell this a long, long time ago. And so I have clients on there. But the other thing that about this plan that's, again, better than the Aetna, better than the GRIC, is this plan will pay for any bout of cancer you have. So again, it doesn't have a cap on how many times you can use it. So that's one of the things where you can use this. But where I think this plan is really important is one of the biggest issues we have with Golden Rule is they only allow us to have one one accident plan. And one of the biggest things that we talk about is, with critical illness, I can throw on living benefit plans and I can go up to 50, 75, 100,000 in some cases. But with accidents, like if I do a $10,000 accident wise, that's all Golden Rule will let me do. Until Golden Rule spilled the beans on how we get around that. The question on the Golden Rule application is, do you have any other accident plans? And if you say no, because accident-wise was the first accident plan you wrote, they can't stop you from buying other accident plans. And so this may be something where maybe we don't do the heart attack and stroke, but maybe we add this accidental injury plan to this to give me more coverage for accidents. Again, it's just an option out there, guys, that if I do a Golden Rule accident plan, or if they're already on a Golden Rule accident plan, I can add this and make their accident coverage better, because there's a lot of people, that's the most important thing to them because their kid plays football or they're in a dangerous job. And so if 10,000, accident wise isn't enough, this is something I may want to throw on there. Because again, for a family of three, $39, 72 or 139. So I take a 16, I'd take a 1645 times 3, so a $49 accident wise plus a $39.40. That's $88, and now I have a pretty good accident package. But a key is you got to write the Golden Rule first, so when you answer that question, do you have other accident plans, you can legally put no. But then once that's been approved, you can add this stuff. Here's the other thing you need to know about Globe Life. We have some special relationship with them. These are 2.85 weightings, just like the Golden Rule is. See, Aetna's 1. Globe Life is 2.85. So again, that's another thing where, and again, the commissions on these plans are in the 40 to 50%, not the 20 to 30%. So if you're not contracted with Globe Life, this is something you may want to look at too, especially for the accident coverage, to give these people more coverage for accidents. So this is, again, kind of like the Aflac type coverage, which people are used to. But again, the big selling feature is it's got a return of premium. You don't use it, you're going to get your money back. you do use it, you're going to get paid money.
Steve, one
So
of the things that's confusing about Globe is the unit designation down at the bottom.
Yep.
It says current premium 2 unit or 4 unit or 6.
Yeah, so again, I go by the names of the plans, so standard, preferred, elite. So the standards are always the 2 units, the preferred are the 4 units, and then these are the 8 units. But again, I probably won't sell a lot of the cancer and cardiac. It's there, but I'm really starting to think about popping to give people more, because that's one of the big, I'm on a golden rule advisory board. And one of the things we talk about every couple of months when we meet is we need to be able to get people more accident coverage. Because we can do that with the critical illness. We can't do it with the accident plans, and we need to be able to do that. And that's when they told us, well, there is a way you can do that. Just make sure you write the GRIC products first, because we can't stop you from buying other products once you have the GRIC product. Does that make sense? So that's pretty much all I have. Does anyone have any questions? Let me check the chat. Sometimes Sandra's in and out, so let me see. All right. Okay, so there's
Yeah.
heavy storms down in the Columbus area.
Hey, Steve, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hey, so there were no other questions in the chat, but
What was that?
there are no other questions in the chat.
You're muted, and I think I'm hearing you through someone else's computer.
I muted mine. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, but it still shows muted, so I'm hearing you because there's an echo.
Yeah, Tanya's on.
Oh, my goodness gracious. So sorry about
Oh,
that. There
now
were no
you're
other
crystal
questions in
clear.
the chat.
Mm-hmm.
But if you guys have a question, please come off chat or off mute and help me out here.
So like I said, guys, we just wanted to show you guys some things that, again, we get so focused on GRIC, and there are clients we run into that need other things, and it's okay to look at the other things. This is not which one's better. The question is which one's better for the customer. The other thing is, like I said, if you're in the Medicare space and you have people that want supplements, a Plan N, a Plan G, stuff like that, there's nothing wrong with that, but they need to understand that the big chink in the armor is the under observation. And the reason it's a big chink is Medicare tells them it could possibly happen on page 28.
And anytime somebody's admitted to the hospital, there is a form that they are given about observation versus inpatient treatment. We've seen it happen where inpatient stay has actually been changed over to an observation stay later after the stay has actually occurred. And that's when it creates a lot of problems.
Can you guys see my screen again?
And they don't have to sign the form anymore either.
No, they're given the information, and that's.
Here's what the moon looks like. So basically it's their patient. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
So it's the name, the patient number. They tell you why you're there as an outpatient, but then they tell you the reason that's important is observation may affect coverage or payment. So if you need skilled nursing care after you leave the hospital, Medicare Part A will only cover skilled nursing if you've had the 3-day minimum medically necessary inpatient stay. An inpatient hospital stay begins the date the hospital admits you as an inpatient, and it doesn't include the day you're discharged. If you have Medicaid, a Medicare Advantage plan, or other health insurance, Medicaid or the plan may have different rules for skilled nursing after you leave the hospital. So how do you know if your Medicare Advantage plan requires the 3-day? They write it in the evidence of coverage. If you go under skilled nursing, it'll tell you whether or not you need the 3-day rule. Now, most of the carriers we deal with don't require the 3-day. There are some carriers that do, but like I said, the biggest thing with Medicare Advantage is getting kicked out early because you're not getting any better, or the bigger one is finding an in-network bed. I had a customer that was on an Aetna plan. She lived in Rolling Prairie, which is 10 minutes from me. Her closest bed was in Valparaiso, which was 40 minutes away for her. Now, there was beds in LaPorte County that were out of network with Aetna on her Aetna Medicare Advantage, where if she would have had the flex plan or the recovery care, she could have stayed local. So we have to give people the opportunity to say no, guys. We need to let them know where they're exposed, let them cover the exposure. Okay.
Yep. And
Yeah.
then
When we
study
start
your
thinking about,
brochures.
yeah, and when we start thinking about 2027 in the ACA market, we got to start thinking 12,000 times 2. It's just, now again, if people can only afford 15,000, I'd rather cover 1 year. If they can only afford 10, I'd rather cover most of it. But again, if you just start at 20, 25, 30,000, let them say, well, I can't afford that. Well, then you can go down. Or if they don't qualify medically, you can always go to the 10,000 GRIC. But these are some things we need to learn how to do now, because when we get in the open enrollment, we should have this ingrained in our head on what am I going to do if I do this? What am I going to do if I do this? So anything else?
If you're not appointed with either Aetna Senior Supplemental Products or Globe Life, you can initiate that through your Haas on the Resource Center. If you have questions about commission rate schedules on the Resource Center under the carrier site, you have access to the commission rate schedules there for the products. What else?
Steve, can you run the report again or show us how to run the report again to see if we're appointed with Continental? So I'm just not sure. I'm in there and I feel like I could like I don't know. I think I have too many carriers
Well, that's why
listed.
you've got to make it specific.
Yeah.
So if any of you got to jump off, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for joining us. If you need to leave, appreciate
All
it.
right. So Kate,
Sandra, if if you were appointed, wouldn't it show up in then Quote Connect as far as able to quote it? If you weren't, it wouldn't show up in Quote Connect.
most of the time you're correct, Ralph. Sometimes they're behind the 8 ball, especially with the Aetna products. Okay. So Kate, you go down to agent appointments.
Right. Yeah, I did that.
Okay. And something's making the site slow, so all
And
right.
then you're gonna, there you go.
You go to appointment status, just hit appointed, select your state. Again,
She's
obviously
in
it's gonna be
Michigan.
Michigan,
Yep.
but it's the carrier where you can be specific. So you just gotta scroll all the way down to the C's.
For Continental Life. Oh, you just passed it.
Yep. And then you hit request report.
And then you hit OK.
Yep, and then it'll show up as soon as it processes.
Sometimes you have to hit that refresh a couple times.
Yep.
There you go.
All right. So when you open it up, if you're appointed, it'll give you all this information. If you're not, it won't. But that's how you do it to just get to the one company, is you just have to scroll down and find the one company. Does that help, Kate?
Yeah, thanks. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, because if you hit select all, it's going to take forever.
Access to that as a sub-agent.
All right. Anything else while I got you guys? Was this helpful in any way, shape, or form? Did I
Yes,
open up your
I don't.
eyes to a new horizon?
Yes.
Again, I know,
Perfect.
guys, FYCR is important. You want to hit tiers and stuff, but Sometimes we just got to make a few bucks more. It's easier to make more money per sale than it is to make more sales. So,
Well,
just
I
kinda think
appreciate
about
your time, everybody. Thank you so much, Steve. This was excellent. Again, I apologize for my intermittent connection here, but I'm glad that you guys were able to hear Steve and continue on. And so if you have any questions about the Aetna products, the Globe Life, need any help with, doing your carrier appointments, don't hesitate to reach out. Appreciate everybody's time today. Have a
All right,
great
see you
day.
guys later.
Thanks. Bye-bye.